Musk's allegation of a cyber attack could not be independently confirmed after technical issues also hampered the presidential campaign launch on X of Republican Governor Ron DeSantis in May last year. When the conversation eventually started, it meandered through various topics. A sort of freewheeling, unstructured conversation that touched on the failed assassination attempt, illegal immigration and border security, the state of the country's economy, to pot shots at Trump's Democratic opponent. This was part of their exchange on the failed assassination attempt after Trump was hit in the ear, went down, and was quickly surrounded by Secret Service agents.
You really couldn't tell. When I stood up before the hand, before the fist in the air, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It was a terrible thing, but it was
incredibly moving.
Actually did something that was.
They then discussed illegal immigration at length, a central theme of the Trump campaign, who disputes the official figures of around 12 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States.
I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums. And many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world.
They also talked about a so-called need for American presidents to be intimidating and feared on the world stage, with Musk suggesting Harris and President Joe Biden were both failures in that regard.
I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners, the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security. Because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of them.
And that puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one of them, and I know them well. I know Putin, I know President Xi, I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough, they're smart, they're vicious, and they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it.
On Harris replacing President Biden as the Democratic nominee, among other issues,
I mean, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
What they did with this guy, and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different... Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said, we can do it the nice way, or we can do it the hard way.
I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election. And I mean, that's understating my opinion.
Responding to the more than 2-hour conversation, the Harris campaign took to social media describing Trump's entire campaign as being in service of people like Elon Musk, self-obsessed rich guys who sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. The chat on X was an opportunity for Trump to offer, much like a campaign rally, an unfiltered perspective to a larger audience, presenting a mix of grievance, personal attacks, hyperbole and false statements, with Musk allowing him free rein without any pushback. The context: Harris and her running mate Tim Walz are leading in key polling that shows they now have the edge both nationally and in key swing states that will determine the election outcome. Harris's momentum could receive an even further boost when Democrats gather for their national convention in Chicago next week. Shervin Brycebees, SABC News, New York.